I'm gonna level with you guys. The sun iconography usually leads us to ruin. I couldn't find a single reason to take door 12 here. 4-2. Boom, 42. That's the way to go. I don't feel good about it. Hello and welcome back to Maze, Solve the World's Most Challenging Puzzle. Last time we took a look at actually solving all of the clues in every room on the way from room 1 to room 45 to get to the center of the maze. How we were supposed to, in theory, have known what the right room was, what the right step was each step of the way. Now we're going to start in room 45. We're going to do the back half and work our way out of the maze. And basically do the exact same thing. Explore the clues that we can find in each room that tell us what the correct way to go should be. Just wanted to pop in here really quick and let you know that all of this is possible. All these videos and everything that's happening on the channel is possible because of the work that we do on our other projects, such as our notebooks or our upcoming Hope Core text adventure MMO, Beyond the Barrows. If you missed the Kickstarter, the Pledge Manager is now open, and we are taking late pledges, so there's still time to get in on our closed beta events, as well as get in at the very beginning of this communally built Hope Core adventure world. So if that sounds like something that might interest you, head on over to beyondthebarrows.com or head on over to therookandtheraven.com to get involved. And now, on with the show. Let's dive right in with room 45. Now, from the center of the maze, how in the world are we supposed to know that the correct path out is 23? I mean, honestly, almost all the iconography here is tied up in the actual, the riddle at the center of the maze that we're supposed to piece together and solve. And that's going to happen in a separate video. Figuring out just the correct path from the puzzles here, there's really only one strong indicator to any given door, and that's the spear pointing at door 23. So we come to room 23, and we're now on our way out of the maze. Without having been to all of these rooms, how are we supposed to know which is the correct path out? How are we supposed to know to take door 8 and not take 19 or 28? Well, the most obvious answer here is if you look above, look at the paintings above, you have a storm over 28, you have kind of a night scene over 45, you have a giant foot over 19, and you have this radiant sun over 8. That would seem like the illuminated path, but as we've seen in other places, the sun iconography usually leads us to ruin, as you've seen multiple times through the previous playthroughs. There's a big sun. Okay, the sun is evil. So how are we supposed to figure it out? How else could we know? These get so obscure. Looking for ways to justify knowing that we're taking room 8, knowing that 8 is the correct path. Finding ways to justify this is insane, because how are you supposed to figure this out? How are you supposed to know ahead of time, before you step through a door, what the right door is? No. But here are some ways you could potentially have figured it out. If we look at some of the symbolism here, we've got the coat rack here crossing the trim on the wall, the wainscoting, or the chair rail on the wall, makes kind of a plus symbol. And you have basically 4 hashes on this door plus 4 hashes on this door gives you 8. That's one way to look at it. Another one, if you look at these tablets. So there's two tablets, it's a pair of tablets here, and you can assume what's on the other tablet. And you put those tablets side by side, you would have basically two columns of 5 numbers. Much like over here, you have 2 columns of 5 squares. And you got a broken pane on the middle right column. And if you had these tablets set out next to each other, the middle right number would be 8. I mean, come on. Like, there is absolutely nothing in any of the rooms that we've been through so far, any of how those puzzles were solved, that would apply here. Like, puzzling that symbolism out and trusting that that's right enough to follow that door. No. I'm sorry. I'm crying foul on this one. I think that is absolute garbage. Now, speaking of room 8, we've already figured out that room 12 is our destination from here. So, how are we supposed to know? I mean, we've been to 29 already on this walkthrough, so we can legitimately eliminate that one. But of the other options, like, what are we going to go off of here? I'm going to level with you guys. I couldn't find a single reason to take door 12 except for the fact that everything seems to be pointing away from it. You have the candlestick that's laying away from door 12. You have the barber pole that's laying toward door 6. You have the sign that's pointing toward door 31. 29 is already eliminated. Like, the only unique thing that I saw about 12 is that it didn't have something pointing at it of the 3 options that were remaining when we eliminate 29. What I found when I went to Google to find out what other people had found in this room, like, it genuinely hurts me. Like, this room genuinely hurts me. So some of the justifications, some of the clues that people have found, some of the rationale for choosing door 12 that I've seen people mention. The stethoscope. One cup on one end and 2 cups on the other end, or one cable and 2 cables. 1, 2, 12. The sound coming in 1 and going out 2. The light bulb, the single bulb that's referred to in the text, and the vaulted chamber ceiling that your attention is drawn to, has 1 bulb in the center and 2 sort of concentric rings around it on the ceiling. 1 and 2. I mean, like, these are stretches. Like, I didn't feel good about my nothing pointing at the door theory, but I felt a hell of a lot better about myself after looking at some of these clues. Oh, there was a good one about the bowling pin having 1 stripe at the bottom and 2 at the top, indicating 12. I have to be honest, I didn't see 2 stripes at the top until that was mentioned, and even now, looking close at it, it feels like a stretch. I mean, I don't doubt that there's 2 separate stripes there, but for my old eyes, there's a whole thing to do with sine and math and, like, trigonometry and using, resolving to the absolute value of x and then turning the absolute value symbols into i's and rearranging them so it's xii for 12 in Roman numerals. Talk about a stretch on that one. Whew. And then, let's see. Oh, there was also one where the barber pole represented the earth, and the light bulb represented the sun. And, the barber pole being like the earth's pole at a tilt, and the room is at a tilt. And so the sun is shining on half of the earth, and the other half is in shadow. And so half of 24 hours in a day is 12, and therefore that represents 12 hours in the day. And 12 being... I mean, I'm very much a proponent of however you find the correct answer. The fact that you found the correct answer is what matters. But I struggled mightily with this room because, I felt completely deluded in my justification, and it's nothing that I would have put together not already knowing the correct answer. Now, when we come to room 12, the correct answer out of here is 39. The other doors being 2, 21, and 8. So I started looking at paintings. First thing that I sort of associated was the painting of the gentleman here who's just finished a meal, or who has just ate a meal. 8 and 8. Then kind of looking at the other things, you've got one guy with a 2, and then the other guy with a 2 and a 1. So the 3 paintings seem to indicate 2, 21, and 8. And kind of being back on more familiar footing in this regard, knowing that, okay, well then the one not mentioned, the silence, 39 being the one left over, the one that isn't referenced being the correct path out. 39 leads us to this room. And we already know that door 4 is the correct way out. Now, this one I actually felt pretty good about because this is one of the very few rooms on this whole tour where I felt like I could figure out the correct way without already knowing it ahead of time. And that comes from the little number board where we have, 1 times 1, 3 times 3, 5 times 5, 7 times 7. Because that table, it's a table of squares. It's a number times itself. So you have 2 and you have 9 and 25, etc., etc. 4 is the only door that's a square. It's also missing from that list where, 11, you have 1 being 11 showing up on that list. And even if you kind of ignore the symbols, later on that top line, you have 1, 2. So 1, 1, 1, 2 shows up on that board. So the one number you don't see anywhere exhibited in this room is 4. Even when you look at the barrels on the side, you have 3 barrels stacked together, or 2 barrels, or 1 barrel here, or 3 barrels, but you never have 4 barrels. What is the odd one out? 4. Now, coming back to the corridor, as it were, on our way out, we already know that we're going from right to left, and we've already been to 29. We can continue to eliminate 29. And honestly, 44 would take you there eventually, and 15 is the correct door out. Again, I feel like this is one of the most failed rooms in the entire puzzle, because the clues here are just so obtuse and so obscure that they really only make sense if you already know. But on the coming back through here, this is the second time that we're here, and knowing we've been through here twice, and we went through 29 the first time, and that was the head of the axe, maybe you would have puzzled out that, the other axe door might be the other way through. So that brings us to room 15. Now, we already know the correct door out of here is door 37. So how are we supposed to figure that out? Well, I don't love the puzzle in this room because, again, it feels like it goes against what we've learned in other rooms already. So, room 3, for example, is spelled out in the text. That, to me, based on previous indicators like story and door 20, as that could be a viable path, but 3 will just take us out and then around and around, and eventually it'll just lead us back into this room because that isn't a path out. That isn't going to take us where we're going. Now, what we've also learned in other places and in this maze over and over again is that the places that are referenced, like we're looking for something that isn't referenced. We're looking for the missing thing. We're looking for the silence. And in this case, like, the closest thing to something that isn't referenced is actually door 30, and that's not the right door. Because I feel like, okay, you have SVN, which could read 7, potentially. You have, 3 letters spelling 7, 3, 7, 37. Ironically, 37 is the correct door, but with 3 being referenced and 37 being referenced, the odd one out is actually 30. And so previous rooms would teach us that 30 is the correct door that we want to go through. And it's not. Now, the only other thing that I could think of here is we've been to room 30 on our journey already. And so we might want to eliminate 30 as a possibility. However, we just went to room 4 twice, which shows that the path can be, like, you can double up on that. And actually, even then in corridor 4, maybe we wouldn't want to have eliminated 29 on that basis at that point, because we've just been proven that we can enter a room multiple times. So really, the clues here are screaming at me that 30 is the way we should go, based on how we've solved previous rooms. So for the answer that we know now is 37, like, I don't see how you would ever guess that, because of how you've solved the previous rooms. Like, because of the precedents already set by the maze, why would this room not be why would this room be the exception? Now, coming here to room 37, this one's tricky. Because I feel like the clues here are very ambiguous, and it's one of those things where unless you already knew that the correct path is 20, you would have no way to know whether the clue you're looking at is correct or the clue you're looking at is a red herring. Looking at the net first. Well, the net is conical shaped. The cone is in front of 42, so the net, that would pretty strongly indicate to me, my first instinct looking at the clues here was 42. 42 is the room we want to go to. Except we've already been there before, except we've already just learned that going back to rooms is not always a bad thing. So, like, the contradictory nature of what we've experienced so far. But also, having just come from 15, where it's like, okay, but precedent is not valid, or precedent shouldn't be treated as precedent, then maybe we don't go back to that room. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Like, there's no way, nothing definitive in that. Like, there are strong reasons to support 42 as a valid answer to that puzzle. The net being the same shape as the cone at room 42, and your previous experiences both supporting and rejecting the idea of returning to a room that you've been to before. Like, come on. Now, net also has another meaning. You know, like the net, the summation. We've seen some math puzzles before. You know, so looking at things from all sides, we see the dice, and then thinking of the net of the dice, adding the dice together might indicate something else. Now, here's another fun bit. So on a standard 6-sided die, the opposite sides of the cube add up to 7. Which means on the 1 side is always opposite the 6 side. The 5 side is always opposite the 2 side. And the 3 side is always opposite the 4 side. Now, looking at the dice in their current orientation, you have a 2 up and you have a blank up. But on the one with the blank side, you can see 5 pips on one side and 1 pip on the other side. So you know that the one facing door 42 is the 2 side, and you know that the one facing off the edge of the map over here is the 6 side. So it's either going to be a 3 or a 4 on top, right? And by looking at the other die, see, here's where reading into these clues can get us into trouble. Because looking at that other die, we can see, okay, well, if you have a 1 on, like if you have a 1 in front and a 2 on the left, then the bottom face is going to be 3 because of how that die is oriented. If you were to turn it on its side and rotate it around, you know, put it down on the 3 side and rotate it around so that the 1's matched up with this 5-in-1 die, then you'd have a 4 on the top, and all of the faces would match up in the perfect orientation. So that would tell you that that should be a 4 on the top there. 4, 2, boom, 42. That's the way to go, right? Again, super strong indicator now from 2 separate clues that 42 is our path forward, and nothing that we can draw on definitively to say that that's wrong. And on this path through, we've never been to room 20, in theory. You know, so we're basing it off of just the clues and our experiences so far on this path. Like 42, sign me up. Like every clue that I found in this room said 42 is the way to go. And it's only because I know that it's not 42 that I looked deeper and looked for something to justify 20 being the response. Now, the fact that there aren't the 4 pips, that side is blank, is probably the biggest evidence I can think of for it being 20. Because you basically have 2, and then there's no way to represent 0 on a 6-sided die. So the fact that you have a blank face is probably the closest thing you're going to get to it. 2 and nothing. 20. You know, so if we accept 42 as a solution, we would also have to be able to accept 20 as a solution. But again, that doesn't really give any sort of definitive thing. I mean, you have like sphere that makes a circle. You can maybe read that as a 0, or the shadow from the net could be like a 0. But again, like I feel like those are really reaching. And so, you know, even looking at, you know, 2 and blank, like I felt super clever finding, puzzling out that blank side should be a 4. Like that felt like a really satisfying puzzle to solve. Um, and pairing that with the cone, like that, I was convinced, clue wise, 42 the way to go. And so I'm actually pretty disappointed with the clue layout in this room because, okay, yeah, I can find an excuse to go to room 20 from here, but like it doesn't feel as exciting. It doesn't feel as like I don't have that sense of accomplishment like I did, solving 42. And there's nothing there to really strongly indicate that 20 is the way to go. This room, I felt so unsatisfied. I felt so unsatisfied because like it felt like it really felt like I had something there. And just like when we got to room 17 and we were looking at the door to 45, like we don't really need a clue to know that 1 is the one we're going to go through here. Because we've taken 15 steps, we've got 1 move left, and that's where we're trying to get to. So like we don't even need any clues here. But just out of curiosity, I wanted to putt around and see if I could find anything to support that, kind of like the way how there were things to indicate not going to 6 or 36 from room 17. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't find anything compelling. Like, I'm sure that there is probably something, there are probably some hints here, but at this point, home stretch, you've been through so much, you don't need the hints, you don't need the clues. You got your 1, it's right there. And that brings us back to our 1. So we've gone from 1, we've gone to 45, we've come back to 1 on that beautiful 16-step path. We've looked at every room along the way and the clues that were supposed to tell us that this is the right path. Again, like, I've thoroughly enjoyed exploring this book. But exploring it as a maze, as a space to experience and through trial and error was a lot of fun. Trying to do it through the clues really kind of sucked, actually. Being perfectly honest, because at no time did I feel confident in my decisions. And ultimately, if I was solving this using these puzzles, using these clues, it would be 100% guess and check anyway. And if anything, that would feel more frustrating because it's like pouring all of the time and energy and effort into justifying this choice. I mean, ultimately, what kept those fun for me was the fact the goal wasn't to find out if my puzzling was correct, but the goal was to see every room in the maze so that even if it wasn't right, it wasn't a failure, it wasn't a loss, because I still gained knowledge from having seen that room. So ultimately, maze as a maze challenge and finding the 16 rooms, super fun. Super fun. I have enjoyed every moment of it. Maze as a puzzle book where you are trying to outsmart the guide. The unreliable narrator really sucked all the fun out of that, honestly. And the fact that we know right from the get-go, right from the prologue, that there are fake clues meant that even when we got even when I got something right, I never felt a thrill. I never felt joy or satisfaction from it because I couldn't trust that feeling. I mean, look at the room with choosing between 42 and 20. Like, the puzzle that I solved that I felt really good about told me 42 is the correct path, and it's wrong. It's red herring. It's false clues. And so ultimately, when it comes to creating an experience like this, when it comes to creating a puzzle like this, you have to be willing to let the players win sometimes, you know? Like this felt, approaching this, trying to find and solve the puzzles, it felt very, very adversarial. And not in a fun way. You know, I couldn't trust the book. I couldn't trust the clues. I couldn't even trust that what I was finding was a real clue. And that took a lot of the fun out of the experience for me. So, you know, as far as playing through this book to experience the maze and to solve it and to find a path through, 11 out of 10. Highly recommend. As far as, you know, trying to solve all the puzzles in the rooms, I gotta give this like a 3, honestly. A very underwhelming experience because it didn't feel satisfying to solve puzzles, to find solutions, and to find answers. Well, join us next time as we discuss the puzzle in the center of the maze and try to find a satisfying conclusion to the other 2 parts of the challenge of this entire book. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, ciao. Just wanted to pop in here really quick and let you know that all of this is possible. All these videos and everything that's happening on the channel is possible because of the work that we do on our other projects, such as our notebooks or our upcoming Hope Core text adventure MMO, Beyond the Barrows. If you missed the Kickstarter, the Pledge Manager is now open, and we are taking late pledges, so there's still time to get in on our closed beta events, as well as get in at the very beginning of this communally built Hope Core adventure world. So if that sounds like something that might interest you, head on over to beyondthebarrows.com or head on over to therookandtheraven.com to get involved.